going to talk to you about adult bullying today. I'm probably going to do more on this because I don't see it getting any better anytime soon, and I'm like, bring it on. I haven't been bullied at work for a long time. I used to have this job in a department store that was kind of seen as upper class. We have two major ones in this country that are Australian. I don't know if they aren't owned by Australians now, but they're like a staple of Australian culture. And I won't mention them, but they are big and their signage is always black and white. And the two of them are kind of bizarro world. So they're the kind of same things, but you know, in shopping centres they're at one end and then the other one's at the other end. And I don't know if they compete or anything, but they seem to have established around the same time and they attract the same sorts of clientele. I used to work for one of them when I was younger, and because it's such a staple, there were people that there were women that had been there 20 years plus. And so they had worked through everything when, you know, putting through transactions were manual and things were super easy. We're talking like when they graduated to some sort of tills, they were green screen and clunky buttons and stuff. So when the younger sort of people came in, we were bullied. And because when you get out of school and everything, you don't expect that to really happen to you in the real world. You figure everybody else is an adult and they don't act like that, but they do. These women were from another time, I guess, and they looked at you like you were a piece of crap, like you didn't know anything. But at the same time, now that I'm older and look back, I can see that they were intimidated because we were coming in with different knowledge to them, and many of us were coming into work besides going to uni at the same time or doing something else at the same time. And their whole life was dedicated to being in that department store in their little niche of that and selling the brand that they knew best, or, you know, something like that. So when you came in and you learnt everything that they knew in like 12 seconds, that kind of freaked them out. And plus, I didn't know what it's like now. Actually, no, that's a lie. I do know what it's like now because it happens to me all the time. But older women hate you because they perceive you to be, oh, you're youthful and you're decent looking or know how to present yourself well, and that they don't like that. It's like, well, if you don't like it, why don't you present yourself better? You've most likely got the money. I mean, look at me, I'm doing this job casually because I've got to pay for uni or whatever at the time. So anyway, we got bullied. And when I say bullied, you know, made sure that we had the lunch breaks that they didn't want so super early, like we're having lunch at 10:30 when we just started work like an hour and a half ago. Or given the shifts that nobody wants, so you'd get the late night shopping shift on the Thursday night and then the Saturday morning because they didn't want it. You get made to do all sorts of stuff. You get made to do all the errands around the place. You get made to sweep up things and, yeah, generally treated like shit. Or they'd bully you to your face. They'd be talking about you to someone else and you would be standing with them. And they'd be condescending and they'd just make you feel really small and like they didn't want you around, but they were tolerating. And on the side of what I said before, so you come out into the real world and you think, okay, well, bullying and schoolyard crap probably won't happen here because we're adults now. But at the same time, when it does happen to you, you sort of fall back into the whole thing of, oh, am I allowed to say something back? I mean, they're older. They're kind of like a teacher. Like, you know, so I feel sorry for some people that are coming up that are working in these environments, which brings me to something that happened to me. Yes, I got bullied last week, and holy crap, I need to tell you about it. I do a slave gig sometimes. So I'm not really interested in making friends when I go there. I'm not going to be impolite to anybody or anything, but I don't seek out female friendships or male friendships in that environment because I'm there to do a job and leave. And that served me well for a very long time. But last week, for the first time in a long time, someone just came at me for no reason. She was in a newly appointed position of power, and I guess it was kind of like one of those jail things where you get in and the first day you got to kick someone's ass to show that you're. And she just kind of interrupted something I was doing in front of a lot of people. I think there were about 18 people. Kept interjecting, kept calling me out on things, and kept on trying to sort of embarrass me in front of people. And then she flexed how long she'd been there. I've never seen her before, so maybe she's worked for that place in another department or another site around the city. But she's like, well, I've been here for, X amount of years. And she was blinking her eyes a lot and she was opening her mouth big. And she said this to a group of us, and in this group, myself included, a lot of us had been there longer. So like, we don't care. It doesn't matter. Being the self-reflective person I am, I went home that day and I was really thinking about it. But I have had 5 different individuals come up to me individually to check if I'm okay or to comment on that behavior that happened. I even had one of them, the only one that has my home number, call me on the way home to check if I was okay, because apparently it made everybody feel really uncomfortable. And I could tell people normally interact with what I was doing and ask questions and things, and everyone had this sheepish smile on their face like, we feel it, we're sorry too. And so this woman that came in and wasn't even a part of what we were doing, she just thought she'd stand there and make comment, really made other people feel very uncomfortable and intimidated. And to be bullied as an adult, I'll just say it feels like you don't just feel kind of bad that somebody else bullied you, but it's kind of like, oh, I was not expecting it. Why didn't I fight back? Well, I'll tell you why first. Because we've all signed a contract that says we've got to abide by a code of conduct and values. And I'll just say it here. I mean, she's pretty lucky that I abide by them, because otherwise she'd have been walking out with no fucking teeth. So I didn't, I kept my cool, and I was like, ugh, tough crowd. And I kind of just breathed through it and just went through what I was doing and tried to recover as best I could of the message that I was giving and, what we were doing. But yeah, it wasn't great. So that happens. And her giant yeti of a woman, which she kind of sounds like a man, so she might be a man, but I'm not sure. And, if she's a man, well, whatever, I don't care. But yeah, her man friend was standing there too at the time. And something else happened to me yesterday. So it's been a week or so. Something else happened yesterday. And I thought it was so weird. It was my first real, rumor that started about me ever there. So it's kind of, to be honest, it's kind of exciting, but it's also really pathetic, because I thought this shit was over in schoolyards. And I thought it was over, years and years ago. I mean, now I'd like to think the bullying factor for schools is a little bit better, because people are more aware of it. Teachers are aware of it and the differences between people. I don't like pushing this whole trans children thing in school, but what it has given people is a bigger insight into how differences, or how, even if you're not different, people just say a thing and then suddenly, knives are pointed at you and you get bullied by a bunch of people. So this is the context, and I'm really not sure if it was her, but Man Bitch was hanging around, and I'm pretty sure she overheard some of the conversations that were happening when some people were coming up and asking if I was okay about what her friend did to me last week. And so I'm thinking that possibly it's getting around that someone is going to say something to a higher up. But yeah, I thought this was over in the schoolyard. Apparently not. So before I left, an individual who had come up to me really early in the morning when I got there and said to me, hey, I just want to tell you, I'm really angry on your behalf. I was in the other row and I could hear what was happening last week, and that woman was so horrible and so nasty and, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, this lady comes back to me and she goes, hey, I need to talk to you again. I'm like, oh, okay. Takes me aside and she says, oh, I don't ask me who it is because I'm not going to say it. But someone has said that your feet really smell. And I was like, excuse me? What? And she said, yeah, look, don't ask me. I'm not going to, don't make me regret telling you. But if you could just do something about that. And so, I did. I took my shoe off and I gave it to her. And she, God bless her, she put her nose in it. She's like, what the hell are they talking about? I'm like, yeah. Actually, it's a thing, and it might not mean anything because I can't prove it. But my family has always said that. They're like, you don't sweat. Your socks never stink. Compared to, say, a brother or, another sibling that had that issue. And I actually, one of my boyfriends, that's another story, but one of my boyfriends had a real bad problem with stinky feet and shoes. Like, it was so toxic. Like, actually, keep moving. So I said to her, yeah, I don't smell. And the shoes that I wear at work stay at work. They're actually brand new. I use them to get up and go to the toilet block and then come back. I don't actually use them. They're like brand new, as you can smell. And the sneakers that I used to get here today are about 2.5 weeks old. And the socks were from this morning. So you know, and she conceded like, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know why they picked on you or said that. And I was like, yeah, I have an idea, because I think it was the man bitch, but I'm not 100% sure. And on top of that, I couldn't say to her, I couldn't say, well, you know, I just come out of, well, not just, but, you know, a couple of years ago, come out of a relationship that was nearly a decade long with a man with a foot fetish. So trust me when I say I know how to take care of my feet. But, you know, you can't say that shit. And yes, that's true. Don't ask me about it. I'm sure I will tell you about it at some stage. But yeah, foot fetish, your feet need to be up to scratch. So I just thought it was interesting. You know, someone coming out and saying this about another adult. I don't want to be the stinky kid in class, you know. But I mean, if you just stand next to me, you'll be able to see that, you know, that's obviously not true. And because of my training and everything, like, you know, not that I do it anymore, but jiu-jitsu and stuff, because you know you're going to be rolling with people and you're going to be in close proximity, I go to the toilet halfway through my shift and like spray myself with perfume just in case. So completely unfounded rumor, but isn't that strange what women do? Out to get another woman. So you basically belittle them in front of everyone and then try and say that they smell. Wow. It's been a learning experience. I mean, here I was thinking that if you had a problem with someone, you just say it to their face. Not much of a story to tell you really, but I just want to put it out there. Women. Whew. I don't think a man would have done that to me. Well, that's not the point that I'm making. The point I'm making is that adult bullying happens, and it comes in ways that sometimes you don't even notice straight away because you're not ready for it, because you just assume everyone in the room is as mature as you or is as respectful as you. But if not, do something about it. You know as well as I do, this safe space, this overly respectful microaggression bullshit kind of stuff, this is what they want to go with. This is what they make you sign to say you won't do that to somebody else. When a higher up does that to you, go for it. Use their crap rhetoric against them because they deserve it. These are the people that wrote that stuff to protect them and their shit personalities. It's not you. If you're not hurting anybody else on purpose, or if you're not doing something deliberately to mislead people or to make somebody else angry or provoke somebody, then you don't deserve that kind of treatment, no matter where you work or what you're doing. Don't want to be one of those people that's asking you to sub and like, but if you feel like commenting or liking, that would help me out. It'll give me the power to do more of these episodes.